All right, people, it's time for another look at the upcoming NCAA slate of games, and we are doing it a little bit early this week because, well, we're going to be off to a little bit of an early start because there is one game coming up tomorrow that I think needs to have attention drawn to it. So we're going to go ahead and do this now. We're going to knock it out. We're going to do the whole week, which basically only consists of one game on Thursday and then a full slate on Saturday. But I do want to draw attention to this Thursday game first. 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, ESPN2. This is a rare opportunity. And it's not a perfect opportunity, but it is an opportunity. Coastal Carolina versus Georgia State. Now, Georgia State doesn't have anybody that I know of who's interesting, and they're not a particularly great team. But Coastal Carolina, not a big school, not a team that is on national TV every week, has some players that I think need to be kept in mind as we go forward through college football this year. I mentioned Grayson McCall earlier today. He's the quarterback. This is going to be one of our best opportunities to see him play. They also have a left guard prospect that I really like, Lampkin, and they have a nickel corner, Strong. So that's three players from a relatively small school. So this is your opportunity to see them in a game, and I wish it was against a better opponent. They may very well blow out Georgia State, but this is what we got. So I think this is going to be worth watching tomorrow, 4:30 p.m. ESPN2. And that gets us to Saturday, where we have a lot going on. And hopefully you guys are well versed in flipping back and forth between games because these windows are going to be tight. These windows are going to be difficult to maneuver. So be ready for it. We get off to an easy start, 9 a.m. I didn't love the slate of games early. There's one game that I think may as well be the focal point of your attention. Clemson versus Wake Forest. Wake Forest is ranked. They're a good team. Clemson obviously a better team, and Clemson has a good chunk of players who are worth watching. They've got guys on that defensive line. They've got Trenton Simpson, one of my favorite inside linebackers in this draft. And I'm not going to completely rule out DJ, the quarterback. Still, I'm not exactly into him, but I think he's worth keeping an eye on. Clemson alone is such a powerhouse in terms of potential pro prospects that it's good to watch. I'm obviously this drops a little bit if Brissy isn't playing. I'm not sure what's going on with his. I think his sister. There's something going on with his sister that he missed the last Clemson game for. But if that situation is cleared up and he's playing, then, well, you've got a lot of things to watch for. So just keep it nice and simple. ABC, 9 a.m., Clemson versus Wake. And then we get to the lunchtime window, and things are going to get hard. This is basically a triple header I've got here. You may have to make some difficult choices. These are three games that I really like, and you're going to have to be active if you want to keep an eye on all three of them. It's going to take some work. So at 12:30 on CBS, we have Florida versus Tennessee. So we've got Anthony Richardson, one of the most exciting quarterbacks in this class, versus Hooker, maybe one of the most safe and stable quarterbacks in this class. And, by the way, Dexter, the guy who wrecked Kentucky's world a couple weeks ago for Florida, he's also going to be out there. So there's something to watch no matter who has the ball. So that game is big. That's one of the biggest games of the week. I would definitely try to catch some of that. At the same time on ABC, we're going to have Notre Dame versus North Carolina. Notre Dame has gotten off to a bad start this year, but they still have Jared Patterson, my favorite center in this draft. He's not playing as well as I would have liked, but I'm not giving up on him by any stretch. He's got a bunch of games left this year to try to improve his standing, and I do think that he can work himself out of it. And North Carolina cannot be ignored either because of Brandon Leary. This is also going to be a somewhat rare opportunity to see Leary play. Brandon Leary, I believe. This is a guy who is not near the top of anyone's quarterback charts, but I do believe there is something here and he's worth keeping in mind going forward. So that's a good game. And at 1 o'clock, this may be the best game in terms of personal interest just because it's a Pac-12 game. 1 p.m. on Fox, Oregon versus Washington State. So on Washington State side, you have Cam Ward, who, well, I'm not saying he's off to a great start, but we all knew this was going to be an extended process with him, and he can get better. And this is a great opportunity for him to show that he is getting better. And he had a good game last week, so Cam Ward has got to be a part of your viewing. And don't discount Oregon either. Oregon has a lot going for it. Like, for instance, they have one of my favorite left guard prospects in Bass, and they have 2 linebackers. Sewell, who is not off to a great start, in my opinion, so far this year, and Flo. Nevertheless, 2 guys that I think we as Seahawks fans need to keep an eye on. So that game is giving you a look at a handful of intriguing Seahawks prospects, I think. Sewell definitely needs to start turning things around, I think. And Cam Ward needs to actually notch a skin against a good team, like put up a good performance. I know he beat Wisconsin, but he didn't play very well. That game was weird. If he can beat Oregon, if he can even play well against Oregon, it's going to be huge for how people look at him as a pro prospect. So that is a big game, and that's basically a triple header. So good luck keeping up with that one, but I believe in you guys. I believe that you guys can find a way to do it. And then you get to the 4 p.m. slot, and we have another kind of triple header where you may have to make a tough call. 4 p.m. ESPN, we have Arkansas versus Texas A&M. And Arkansas is a team that we haven't been able to see as much as you would have liked through the first 3 weeks. So you really want to make sure you see them against a decent Texas A&M team. This is a team that's going to give them some problems. This is a team that's going to make it hard. But Arkansas, KJ Jefferson has played really well to start the year. I think he's among the best quarterbacks in this upcoming class. And Ricky Stromberg, their center, is a guy who I like as a late-round sleeper. And let's not completely forget here, Texas A&M does have a left guard who I'm fond of, Ogunbiyi. So there's something to watch on both sides of the sideline in this one. So that is a pretty good game that I would not recommend not missing out on. The other 4 o'clock game is a little bit tricky. On the one hand, it's Kentucky, which means Will Levis and Justin Rogers, 2 of my favorites, and my number 1 quarterback, probably the number 1 guy overall for me. But it's against Northern Illinois, not a good team, not a team that Kentucky's expected to have any issues with. So I'm torn, right? On the one hand, Kentucky's must-see TV. But are they really must-see TV against Northern Illinois, who they're almost certainly going to plaster? It's your call. 4 o'clock, ESPN2, Levis, Rogers, and probably a whole bunch of points for one side and very few for the other. And then at 4:30 p.m. on ABC, so this is kind of, like I said, another triple header, Wisconsin versus Ohio State. And Ohio State, also a team that is borderline must-see because of C.J. Stroud, Zach Harrison, their defensive end, and they have a top college kicker, Ruggles. So these 3 guys, Stroud alone, honestly, is compelling. And then you throw in a guy like Harrison and Ruggles, and Ohio State becomes pretty key viewing. And Wisconsin is not an amazing team. They are a good team. So kind of worth watching here as well, just because you have a relatively competitive matchup. And you're going to have to make a difficult decision here because it's a triple header, basically, but you guys can figure it out. And the night slate, not nearly as compelling. 7:15, ESPN2, Wyoming versus BYU. BYU has a couple players I like. They have a kicker, Olroyd, and a defensive end, Batty, who I've talked about a little before. And at 7:30, we've got Utah versus Arizona State. Utah has a cornerback I like, a nickel corner, Phillips III. And that's it. Let me know what you guys think about all this. These are my guys to watch. This is the recommended viewing schedule. See you guys later. Go Hawks.